Hello, hello, everybody. The Fairy Doctor is in. As I say in person, tell me what ails and I'll tell you a tale. But of course, we are live online rather than interacting together in person. So we will just have to settle with letting the universe tell us what we need. So if you have stumbled upon this live, either live or as a recording, then know that the medicine of the story that arises is for you today. Now, I am no teller of lies, no peddler of snake oil, but rather a doctor of stories. These are the most powerful magic taught to us by, as of old, the fair folk and the spirits themselves. For, as you know, the cunning folk, the magical people, the healers and wise folk of this land once learned their magic, their medicine from the fairies. So in my bag today, my doctor's bag, I have yarns and yarns and yarns, and I will take a moment to listen in. I invite you to do the same, to just take a moment to listen in, to hear what it is that you need. What ails you? What calls to you? What do you long for? And let the yarn that emerges be the medicine for today. Today we have a blue and green tangle of lost selves. The story that I will share to you today is one set on the seashore, on the edge where the land meets the water. And as just a few days ago, the full moon, so too it was the full moon on this night. The moon shone silvery bright, reflecting the light of the sun so far away, hidden in the dark of that night. And on the beach, dancing between the foam and the sandy pebbles, were three beautiful ladies, completely and entirely unclothed. Their skin glistened with the salty sea water from the foam and shone under the moonlight. It lit like it was sparkling, like it was bright with the salt and the secrets of the sea. And they were dancing and laughing. Now, under this particular full moon, a local fisherman had decided it would be a good idea to take his boat out because the moon was bright and his catch that week had not been great. He needed to try and make up for the lack of fish supper that evening. And so he had gone down to the beach to take his boat out and found himself hiding behind the rocks, watching the beautiful ladies dancing, laughing, singing to each other, singing to the moon. And our fisherman, John, his hair was not bright and shimmery like theirs was. It was a ruddy, rusty brown. He liked it, but he noticed the difference. The ladies were not like the ladies of his village, who all had hair like he. They were powerfully built, much like the working girls he knew, but there was something about the way they moved. It seemed like they swam through the moonlight. And he was enchanted. He could not take his eyes off the dancing ladies. Suddenly it came to him. The old stories. These be Selkies. Selkie women. Women who live in the sea as seals and who come to land under the light of the full moon to dance. And if you steal their skin, their seal skin, which they must shed to dance in human form, if you steal their seal skin, then they must stay with you, for they can't go home. John was not a cruel man, but he was besotted. And he knew that one way to get what you want is to take it. So he snuck around through the rocks overlooking the beach until he found the discarded seal skins, like cloaks of leather on the beach. When the women weren't looking, he snuck out and stole one, tucking it, folding it up, holding it close, knowing it was precious. He ran back to his house and he hid it. He returned to the beach as the moon was beginning to set, and the dancing ladies went looking for their sealskins. The first one found hers, pulled it on at the edge of the water, and became a gorgeous grey seal, whiskers glinting in the light and diving into the water. The second one found her skin and pulled it on, becoming a seal like her sister, and followed her into the waves. The third Selkie Lady could not find her sealskin. She looked and she looked. She looked and she looked. It was not where she'd left it. It had not been caught by a wave and was floating in the foam. That was unlikely to have happened. She knew the waves quite well. It wasn't there. She began to check around the rocks just in case. Perhaps she'd hung it up, and no. But she did find John. By this point, she was beginning to cry. Tears were dripping down her cheeks, hoping that she was mistaken. But no, the fisherman, hidden behind the rock, confirmed her worst fear. He had taken her way home. Do not cry, sweet lady, do not cry. You can come and make a home with me, and I promise it will be wonderful. I will make sure that you always have enough fish to eat and a fire to warm you, that you barely need work at all, and that you are always well cared for. We can have a family together, and you can have a stable, sturdy roof, a stable, sturdy house, a home that doesn't move with the tides. Surely that must be better than going back to the sea. And though the tears did not stop, she could not deny he had her sealskin, and so she must follow him home. His outreached hand she took in hers and allowed him to lead her up to his house his cottage, small but sturdy. And true enough, there was wood by the fireplace, and he banked it up, he built it up, he stoked it up, and the fire warmed her. And the moonlight faded, and the sun rose, and she was sat on the chair by the fire as the day broke. Day passed, turned to night. Night passed and turned to day, and she made her peace with this, her life. She took on a human name. She allowed the villagers to call her Sylvie. It was not her Selkie name, but it was the name she had on land. And Sylvie and John rubbed along together. And over time, Sylvie grew fond of the man who did his best to win her over. By the rules of the sea and the rules of the moon, he had won her fair and square. She didn't have to like it, but she did come to appreciate how he treated her well. Every now and then, though, the moon would rise big and fat, and he'd find her in the rocks, overlooking her sisters dancing on the beach in the sea foam. And for a moment he'd feel a twinge of perhaps I should give her her seal skin back. But by this point, she was pregnant, and soon they had a child, and soon they had another, and then they had a family, and she stopped going down to watch the dancing under the full moonlight. She stopped gazing out to sea longingly and turned her attention to caring for a family. The children had hair of mixed colours, silky, fair and ruddy, red and brown, somehow complementing each other. They loved to sing and dance and play, and they loved to dig in the fields and to fish in the sea. They grew strong, they grew up, and they grew into adults of their own. Those children of the Selkie and the fisherman, well, they went a-courting, they fell in love, and they went and had sturdy houses of their own. One night, when the moon was fat and high in the sky, dripping moonlight over the waves, John found that Sylvie's half of the bed was empty. He got up, pulled on his boots, and crept down to the rocks by the sea to find her watching her sisters once more. He went back up to the house. He went up into the loft. He dug through the boxes, moving them carefully until he found the one that hid the loose board under which he had carefully placed his beloved seal skin, wrapped in a blanket. He pulled it out, and the leather was somehow still soft and supple and smelled of salt and seaweed. He went downstairs and he hung it on the back of the chair by the fire. And he took himself to bed. He knew she would return, and he knew that when she did, she would be gone. And sure enough, the next morning when he went down, the fire had been banked and the seal skin was gone, along with his wife. But the strangest thing happened. A month passed, and the moon was high and fat and full and bright, and he was gazing wistfully out at where it shone upon the waves, when there was a knock on the door. He went and answered the door, and to his surprise, there was Sylvie. She embraced him, and she said this: "Many of my sisters have been stolen away and never returned. Many of my sisters have been stolen away and only returned to the waves when they found their seal skin themselves. Many of my sisters. But not one has had their human husband give them a choice. And for that, and for the care between us and the children between us, I will spend 1 month with you and 1 month in the sea, and 1 month with you and 1 month in the sea, for as long as you live. For I will outlive you, and I will outlive our children. But because you gave me a choice, I choose to spend your life with you." And so it was. She spent that month with her husband on the land. And as the moon grew full again, she slipped from the cottage down to the waves, danced with her sisters, and then pulled on her seal skin and became a seal diving into the sea. And what she did that month in the sea, well, it's best not to ask. And her husband certainly didn't. But when she returned, she was present with him once more. And she taught their children many secrets. Secrets of the stories that shells can tell, secrets of the song of the waves, secrets of how to swim underwater and hold your breath for a long time, secrets of where the fish swim, and the magic of the moon. And when they grew old, those children, too, had sealskins of their own, and their children's children had sealskins of their own. And they would spend time in the sea and time on the shore. Best of both worlds, as they chose. The medicine of this story, and this is not always, as you hear, how this tale ends, but the medicine of this story is that when we are given a choice to be ourselves, then we can take it. When we are not given the choice, we still can. The Selkie ladies throughout history, throughout story, have always found their way back to the sea, reminding us that our true selves and our freedom is always a possibility, whether we have to go and find it in the dusty attic, whether we have to remake it, recreate it, stitch it ourselves, or whether we are offered a choice and offered support, we can choose. We hold the key to our sealskins, our true selves. So your prescription, if you choose to take it, gaze upon the water once a month or once a night, whichever suits your soul. And remember who you are. Take with water after a meal. When it comes to the magic of the Selkie stories, we can explore it as a psychological tale, as a mythological tale. We can take it on that surface level of what is it that my true skin is? Where have I let pieces of myself go? Where have I been careless with it and had it taken? Where has it been stolen from me and I have not gone hunting for it? Where have I lost it? So we can take those questions, ask those questions of ourselves. Where have you lost parts of yourself that are home to you? Where have you reclaimed them, regained them, made them anew? Sometimes the Selkies go and find them. Sometimes they steal them back. Sometimes they are given them. And sometimes they make themselves new Selkie skins with their own hands. In the same way, we too can reclaim parts of our soul. But there's also another layer to this. And this is talking about that relationship between human and other, the spirits, nature, the Selkies. Those seals that become human-shaped and become seal again, swim through the sea. We are so close to being kin to them, and yet they are other, they are different, they are bound by different rules. If you steal your friend's coat, they don't automatically become your wife or your husband, thankfully. But those rules there bind those beings differently, hold those beings differently. And this tells us something about when we encounter spirits of the natural world. The rules that govern them can be different to the rules that govern us. The rules of obligation, of gift, of exchange can be different. And in this case, some of those spirits, their homes are in their shape, in their skin. When we go and encounter tree spirits, those tree spirits, their homes are in the wood, in the tree. They're not spirits that just happen to live in a tree. They are spirits that have their life in that wood. And so if we take that wood, then we take those spirits. We take something of them. And this is where asking becomes a foundational point if you want to be working with those spirits and working with their wood, working with those beings. You ask first and you listen to the response. And by listen, I don't necessarily mean listen to sounds, though some of us are clairaudient and can hear those responses audibly, however you say that, with your ears. But others of us can know the response, feel that response viscerally, see a color in response, or a shape, or see a message. So ask and listen. And this takes us back to that base of John and Sylvie were from different worlds with different rules, and they had children together. They made a life together. They interacted together. They communicated with each other. We are spirits too. Spirits in a world of spirits. And you can take this literally as I mean it, or you can take this metaphorically if you choose. But when we remember that the world is alive and we are part of that web of life, part of the family of living beings, then we remember that we need each other. And we also not only remember their value and how to treat them with respect in relationship, but also our own value. For if we are a living being in a web of living beings, and all the living beings in the web have value, then we have value too. You have value too. And you deserve to remember who your true self is, where your home is, what your nature is. You deserve your metaphorical sealskin. And this is how we do them honor, is by sharing them on in word, in spoken, art, in memory. And in how we act upon the medicine within. Thank you for entering into the doctor's office, knocking it over. Obviously, it is time to close that door and to say farewell. January 28th, I will be having a book launch for my new book, which is released that day, Storytelling for Magic. And I invite you to join me in the Enchanted Academy for the book launch of that new book. It is available to pre-order through collectiveinc.com or through links you can find on my website. And I will put in the description below. Storytelling for Magic is a guide to finding, exploring, learning, telling, sharing, and uncovering the magic within stories. Within its covers, it contains keys to creating ritual and performing ritual for yourself, for others, and for finding those threads of medicine in any tale that you come across. So I invite you to check it out, pre-order it, so that come January 28th, my publisher knows how many to send out into the world, and that this book is wanted. And to support you in your storytelling journey, come along to the book launch on January 28th in the Enchanted Academy. You can find a link to join at theenchantedacademy.com. And I will have some exciting things to share with you at the book launch. If you pre-order the book, you can email me a copy of the receipt and I will give you free access to my masterclass on the magic of the voice, and you can get started on exploring how to make magic with your voice and how to bring magic into your voice through breath, word, rhythm, all sorts of juicy, energetic things. But between now and then, it is the solstice. So for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, happy winter solstice. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, happy summer solstice. Wherever you are, may that still point, that turning point of the year, bring you rest, rejuvenation, enchantment, and many stories to tell for 2025.